Franklin County Fiscal Court meeting for March 16th, 2020. This is our work session. We're in a little bit different room and we're coming to you via video conferencing with most of our magistrates on the board here. The one magistrate in view is live and in person, living color. It is Lambert Moore. Lambert, welcome. And welcome to all of you all via video conferencing. The first item on the agenda is the COVID-19, the coronavirus update. I've got Tommy Russell here and Jennifer Bartroff from the Health Department. Jennifer and Tommy, welcome. These are wild and crazy times. If you could come up, and Tommy and you chime in and inform the court and the public about what's happening in Franklin County.
So as of right now, we still have 0 cases. That could change. I'm not on the call or on the press conference right now with the governor. So as of right now, we do not have any cases in Franklin County. The health department is staying on top of all of the information that's coming in, at least trying to stay on top of all the information. It's changing all the time. Is there anything specific you all want to know right now? Health department, I mean.
Squires, do you all have any particular questions that you'd like to ask Jennifer or Tommy? And then I'll chime in on what we're doing here in the county in just a moment. But ask them questions concerning the health department or the community if you'd like.
I do.
Okay, go ahead, Sharon, you were first.
With the protocol of who's going to talk. And is this delayed? If I speak, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Didn't know if there was a 10-second delay or anything. A lot of times there is. So I have been out in the community and fielded phone calls just like everybody else that's on this call today and in this meeting. I've also fielded calls from churches and other groups who said that they have services that they potentially could offer, such as pickup, drop-off, delivery of things. They may be able to get meal kits together, etc. If a church wants to do that or another group, who do they reach out to in order to make their services, the full range of services that they can offer at this time? Who would they reach out to let the public know that they're available to participate in helping the public?
Absolutely.
Okay, Tommy's going to answer your question.
All right, today we got a website up and running that is specifically designated to Franklin County COVID-19. That website address is frankfurtema.org, frankfurtema.org. Tomorrow, and when I say today, we got it up, Blair Hecker, Andrew, Tambra, Ray Kinney, and Jennifer are the website people. They're going to be inputting information. There's a place on there for people to sign up as volunteers and for agencies to sign up for assets that they have. That's the easiest way that I know for us to get ahead of the curve and to start to create some extra minutes in the day for me and my staff, as we've been relatively busy. So that website is frankfurtema.org, and that is for all of Frankfurt and Franklin County assets and or volunteers.
And that site is operated by both the city and the county.
That is correct.
Okay. Squire Tracy?
Yeah, Tommy, quick question. And I haven't seen anything in regards to this, but what's in place in regards for transportation, city transit for people and the homeless? What are we doing in regards to those groups?
I met Friday afternoon with all of my community shelter partners. They're following the guidelines to the CDC. The question today I had from the men's shelter was, I've got 115 people coming in at lunchtime every day. So James Barnett, we had worked on a plan to have 3 separate feedings during the day. So I don't have all of those people in there at one time. Now, as far as sleeping at night goes, that's something that we're just going to have to to deal with when it comes. As far as transit goes, we are looking at how to socially distance on the transit buses. They're gonna be cleaned 3 times, they're being cleaned twice a day. They're gonna be cleaned 3 times a day now. We're still gonna keep transit up and running. Those are essential personnel. Anybody that shows sick or signs of any illness, wherever they were, that is being disinfected the minute that they get off the bus. We don't accept cash anymore on those to cut down on that transfer, that chance of transfer. And we might have to add some extra buses to the route if I get so many people driving one bus and I can only do every other seat to try to take care of the spread of this virus. And I wouldn't swear to you that I don't have to tap into the school systems to add some extra buses sometime, but I'm waiting on Transit's plan. They were running the numbers for me this afternoon and I haven't received them yet.
Squire Blackburn?
Yes, sir.
Do you have a question? I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
No, I spoke with a transit driver today, about an hour ago, and he said the majority of his runs have been taking people to get dialysis and things like that, some really life essential things. So I know those folks really want to be made aware of what's happening and the normalcy of them being able to get their ride.
Okay. Squire Muller?
I guess my question would be, how are we communicating all of this? I know we have the website out there, but are we doing anything in the newspaper or in the social media?
Yes, all of that is rolled into the Ready Frankfurt, which is Facebook, has Facebook availabilities. We did a Cable 10 thing this afternoon late. I know Frankfurt Health Department has got all of that stuff, all of those assets available. So the push is on. This past week, it took me a few days to make sure all of my essential services, agencies, and everybody knew the rules of the game and this is how we were gonna do things. This week is me focusing on, or us, let me say this, us, because I'm not in this alone. Us focusing on pushing the messages out to the public. Like I said, on the new website, it's the first thing you get to is today's updates. So for anything that we need to know or somebody wants to know is what's happening today, that's the first thing on that website so we can go there and see. As my time gets free, I will do my best to send out emails to specific groups or to keep them engaged, whatever I do. This thing, as it changes, so does my allotment of time. So I brought Blair Hecker across the street to work with me and my staff. John Lyle has come on board to do my food services planning for should we see the need to increase food supplies to the elderly, to anybody that needs it, because we're going to fall on hard times pretty soon with restaurants being closed. So all of those things have been taken into consideration. That's where we're driving. That's the drive this week, is to get those things up and going as fast as we can.
And I will say that the health department has listings of all of our partners. Some of them we have in our ReadyOps system, which is a messaging system that I can get information out to, like our Board of Health or our employees, our long-term care facilities. They're all within this ReadyOps system that I can send information out to. Tommy's in that list. And so we have that. We also have lists of different partners within the health department society or our web of public health people that we're going to be reaching out to be able to see if they want to come on board to help with any type of needs for, maybe someone needs medication, or we do get to the point where we're going to have to get food to people. So we have those things going right now. We also push out information every day on our website and on Facebook and Twitter. So we're constantly getting trying to push the public health message of social distancing and why we're doing that.
Last but not least, last but not least, sorry, Rick, I'll get to with you in a second. Last but not least, we have our phone number, 875-8751, to call our office for any questions. Tommy, what's the city's number if anybody needs to call the city's number?
875-8500.
875-8500 for the city, 875-8751 for the county if there are any questions. Okay, Rick,
Yes, sir.
was it you that asked a question? I'm sorry.
No, I didn't ask.
Sherry.
It was Sherry, okay, I'm
It
sorry.
was me. So going forward, does the community plan to have like a standing briefing that individuals could watch on Cable 10 through social media, or we could push out information to individuals who do not have social media? There are a lot of seniors who do not participate in social media, and some of them are among the most vulnerable population that we're trying to provide services to right now.
Sherry, I know that for the health department, for us, the health department did 2 Cable 10 things today. We did, I think, 1 or 2 on Friday. We've got several more. They've asked us to come back on their morning show on Friday. So I have a feeling that we'll be there every Friday doing briefs if they have questions or if things come up. So it's all in the works, but we do have, I don't know if there's anything planned on the county side to do something all the time, but I know health department wise, we're using our partners to try to get the information out.
So I have the plant board set up in my office. We went live from the Emergency Operations Center today. I fully expect to do the same thing that we did today with the judge, the mayor, myself, public health, senior citizen, Marshall was there. At least once a week, and as the need arises, we can go to twice a week, but that is fully how I intend to get out to Cable 10, State Journal, and we were in touch with Froggy today, and we will prepare them something each and every day to try it so they can read over the radio.
Square Moore?
I'm good.
You're good. Anybody else on that issue? Okay,
Yeah, I've got one thing, Judge, if you don't care.
Yep.
Has his office in regard, his office, one reached out to Governor Bashir's office, communicating, is leading and is second to none as far as getting this out there. Has anyone reached out to them to ask them for assistance and or suggestions in getting the word?
To the governor's office? I know the mayor has reached out to the governor's office several times.
Yeah, but we're not asking them we haven't asked for any help yet. I'm not sure whether you're just asking, have we been in contact?
No, just in regards to examples on how to get the word out. Assistance maybe. I mean, like I said, they're communicating very well with everyone. I didn't know if we could lean on them for some suggestion or help or whatever.
Well, the TV medium is a great way to get your message out, and today was our first day of working through that process, and I think as we found out today that it does work and we can get the message out, so we have committed to do that, not quite 2 times a day, but as things change, we will continue to do that. What we'd like to see is a buildup of our app that we have, and see how the questions and concerns are going, and go from there, and then get that information out as we see that is needed from the community.
The best way to disseminate the information will probably come forward through frequently asked questions or something like that, and that was one of the things on that website that there will be. So, we might ask that question, what's the best way for us to get information out to you all? So I fully intend to go that route and see what we need to do. This is extremely fluid, it changes every day, and we will change with it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I shouldn't use fluid, so I shouldn't.
That's right. I'd like to say that the Franklin County Fiscal Court office building here on West Main is closed to the public starting tomorrow. Hopefully for a short time, but right now it will be closed. However, our staff will be here and they will still be doing business. If you want to call the office, if you need to contact us, if you come by here, the phone numbers and information is on the front door and you can call and we will set up and get any kind of information you need, either via email or via sending out in any way we can. But we're still going to be here with the staff to try to help in any way we can. Also, the PVA office is going to be doing the same thing. They will be closed to the public, but they will be still providing services to the best that they can over email and phone call. At this time, the Franklin County Clerk's Office is still open, but they are going to be limiting the number of people that are going to be coming in. And we hopefully that will continue to stay open, but we'll just have to see how that goes. But we cannot have 50 people in there at one time. We're going to have to kind of limit that. Also,
Judge, I'd like to add that they'll waive the $2 fee if you do it by mail.
Yeah, okay, yeah, thanks, also, they are not accepting cash, so please keep that in mind when you come to the clerk's office. Also, the Judicial Center is still going to be open. They will still be doing business there. Their court system will not be holding court for the temporary time being. The judges, there will be some avenues that the judges may call certain items to court, but for the most part, court will not be in session. So that's an update on everything that we have going, on the fiscal court side and on county government side. And I want to say to the general public, as you can see, as we're talking to you today, this is a work session. This is the first time this has ever happened this way. This is all new to us. You get to see your magistrates from all over. A couple of them are not even in Frankfurt. They're all over the state. This is a great tool, great thing that we have here, and we're glad we're able to do this. So from this point on, this is probably how we're going to be handling our meetings until further, or at least until further notice. But thank you all for watching, and bear with us. You may, since we're not allowing you to come in, and that's for your protection and our protection as well, you can watch this live on Facebook on the platform. So with that, if there are no other questions, Tommy, Jennifer. Thank you guys, we appreciate it. Thank you very much. Okay, the next item, yes. I'm sorry, yes.
Can you have Tommy, or do you mind to ask Tommy to touch on how the communication is going with the schools?
We couldn't hear you, Scotty.
With who?
I couldn't hear you.
Sound like the schools.
Did you say schools? Did you say schools, Scotty? We can't hear you.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
How's it going with the schools as far as communicating with the schools?
Okay.
Yeah, Mark, my deputy has been in direct contact with both feeding programs at the schools, especially Frankfurt Independent, because they had a few more logistical challenges than Franklin County did. And actually, the Frankfurt Independent lady said things went very well today. They will do whatever it takes to feed children. I think it's 18 and under.
Yes.
And I think they ran out of boxes today and went and made more boxes. And Franklin County, there were no issues today that I know of, that I heard of. Mark checked with them also. You all know with the declaration of emergency that the judge and the mayor are both behind this, and fiscal court and city commission we have the ability to put a lot of assets into that program, or boots on the ground if we need to. So both those systems know that we're there to back them up and to make this thing work, whatever their needs are.
Okay. Is that okay, Scotty? Okay. All right.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. There's kind of a delay there. The next item on the agenda. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is Farmdale Sanitation District update, and I brought Ann up to talk about a grant that we have, and will let you know that I was at the city commission meeting. I can't remember when it was, maybe it was a week ago, and the city commission approved a resolution to work with the Farmdale Sanitation District to come up with an interlocal agreement to provide sewers to the Farmdale Sanitation District and to that area. I mentioned to the fact of the city commission how important it was, and that it is going to cause, we hope, I firmly believe, that area to grow. When the sewers get in place, that area will grow. It is imperative that, and I said these words, that it's imperative that as we grow in an organized and thoughtful process. And as part of that, Robert Hewitt and myself will be meeting with Planning and Zoning Board to ask them to look at this strategically, as well as fundamentally how to grow virtually the south part of our county without it being a mess. And that's the nicest way I can say it. And so we will be proceeding that way. But to give you the background on why this resolution is important to the sanitation district, I've got Ann here to talk a little bit about the EPA grant and the resolution.
Yes, and I know that you all are aware of the history of the EPA grant, but just to cover just a little basic background, you know that the special appropriations, or what they used to call an earmark grant, was given to Franklin County Fiscal Court back in 2009. And that original earmark was split into two parts. The first part was for design of a permanent solution for the Farmdale area. And then the second part of that grant was allowed to be used for construction purposes, or what Farmdale is doing now is rehabbing the collection systems out in that area. The first part that I was talking about, that design phase, is what we've been getting extensions on from the EPA until we were certain of the way forward for a permanent solution for Farmdale. We had thought initially that there was going to be a new wastewater treatment plant designed for that area. The Kentucky Division of Water decided that a better solution, if we could work something out, would be for us to have a pump station put on that property that would pump Farmdale's effluent to the city of Frankfort to be treated. So until we had that mechanism all lined out where everybody understood the way forward, we kept that original scope in the EPA design phase. That extension is expiring at the end of March. So at Farmdale and the county, since the grant comes through us, the city went on and passed a resolution that indicated their desire to go ahead and enter into an agreement like this with Farmdale. Now there will be working out the details of that agreement will come at a later time, but this initial resolution will allow us to go back to the EPA and file a new scope for a grant for the pump station design. And that will allow us to move forward with that and hopefully get the rest of those funds that were still in that design phase grant appropriated to a new scope. So that's why the resolution was passed last week. It was at Farmdale and the county's request, because we needed that in order to begin the process of a new scope and a new grant for that pump station design.
Okay, any questions about that? Everybody understand? Sherry?
I do. Do we know if Farmdale Sanitation has explored options with the Division of Water, as it previously had received approval for its own treatment facility? And then obviously, as Ann said, it purchased land for that process. I've held 2 meet and greets out in the county at this point with the area served by Farmdale Sanitation. And residents expressed great concern about rate increases, and then who ultimately would be the responsible party when and if this sewage is pumped to the city. Would it be Farmdale Sanitation or the city to address issues?
that is a little confusing how all that came about, because at the very beginning of the project, back in 2009, a lot of different options were explored. And some of the rates that were quoted by both City of Frankfort and by Lawrenceburg, by Anderson County, were rates that were not realistic for the residents of Farmdale. So they were moving ahead with the wastewater treatment plant, which they had received waste allocations from the Division of Water, and then about 2 years ago, the Division of Water decided that that would not be what they considered an environmentally sound method for the Farmdale area. They were concerned about discharge into what was not a very full running waterway out there. So.
Right, thank you for that update. And my question really gets to, as I understand it, some changes have happened within the Division of Water within the last few months. And so before this agreement is put into place, I just wanted to ensure that Farmdale has done its due diligence by reaching back out to the Division of Water to see if that edict still is in place, where it gets to Farmdale Sanitation can explore the full range again to make sure, as you said, that it serves, it creates a service that's in the best residents that it is dealing with right now, let alone those who potentially could come later.
And I absolutely understand that. I'm not aware of any recent conversations, but the recent development of finding out that Farmdale could enter into, it's called a KISOP, but it's Kentucky Intersystem Operational Permit, and it's allowed by the state between governmental agencies or sub-governmental agencies to enter into a mutual agreement to treat wastewater, which allows a better rate structure, and one that, through the discussion with the City of Frankfort about a KISOP, they were able to Farmdale was able to come to an agreement with the City of Frankfort of a rate structure that they felt like would be workable for the Farmdale district.
Yeah, and Squire, I'll go back to a couple of years ago. We were exploring different avenues, and we did go to Lawrenceburg, and Lawrenceburg price, the best price they could give us was astronomical. The residents, there's no way they could afford, or we could afford to build it, and so we were actually, and so was the sanitation district, happy that we went back to the idea of working with the city, and this is a great opportunity to keep the rates low, as low as possible, so we can provide the systems that are needed.
And as to a part of your question, Sherry, that you asked about who would be responsible to the residents of the Farmdale district, Farmdale Sanitation District would continue to exist and would, I guess you could describe them as being a governmental customer of the City of Frankfort, but with their own collection systems. Up until the point of their discharge with Frankfort, they would still be in charge of those collection systems and available for assistance or answers any questions from the Farmdale district. They would continue to govern their own collection systems.
And the city would do.
And the city would take on from their pump station
Yeah.
onto the city treatment facility, and they would be responsible for that part. But Farmdale would still be there representing their district.
Again, thank you, Ann, for that important information. My only concern, and I raised this flag, and I've raised this multiple times, now there is a different leadership at the Division of Water. It is incumbent upon me to represent my residents and ensure that Farmdale Sanitation is looked at all options on the table.
Absolutely. I'd be fine to
Members
take
of the
that
board,
back.
can I interject something just very briefly? Just a quick reminder.
Yeah, go ahead, Rick.
We are not Farmdale Sanitation District. Farmdale Sanitation District is a special district, and one of the frequent overlaps that I have tried to emphasize the distinction repeatedly, and I realize that the inquiry goes back to fiscal court because of the need that fiscal court responded to when the pump stations went down the package little plants, is that ultimately fiscal court has no control whatsoever with Farmville sanitation, except as a creditor-debtor relationship. You all passed a resolution to go loan them some money because they run into trouble and had emergency. But at the end of the day, they're no different than Kentucky Utilities, Kentucky American, or anything else. And we don't, as a body politic, have any control over their weight or rates, what they've explored or not. And I would submit, and perhaps Ann's doing a great job, as Sherry just said, answering questions, providing information. Those questions should be more precisely directed toward Farmville Sanitation so they can answer those inquiries as they go forward, because everybody else is just, the other parties who are assisting Farmville are just that, but they are an independent district on their own, a duly organized district.
And the thing is, Rick, I understand exactly what you're saying, but unfortunately, this is an agenda item, and sadly, Ann is doing the responding, so I don't.
I know. I completely agree. That's what I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I think she's at a disadvantage in answering some of the details, and that's unfair to her.
She is.
She's doing a great job. Good job.
She is doing a great job.
But ultimately, we're just following through on what Farmville's doing. Anything that the county does is a prop up and an assist, and ultimately they have to answer those questions. So I guess, it's the only messenger in the room, so that's why you're asking that question. I appreciate it. I just wanted always to remind, because there's a great deal of confusion when people use we, ain't no frog in your pocket, ain't no we. It's Farmville Sanitation District, and there's somebody unique, and it's a unique entity in and of itself.
So the question is we have this resolution, so it is between Farmdale, just want to be clear, it has nothing to do with the court. This is not a resolution before the court. Rick, please say it out loud so everybody can hear you say no.
I'm up in God's country, and I want to make sure I'm looking at the right thing because I got 3 devices going here at one time. The resolution that you all are asked to review and approve is in support of the city and Farmdale's connection.
No, we're not asking you, we're not asking to approve it at all. We just brought it because it was asked to talk to us and update us on Farmville sanitation.
Judge, can I ask a question?
Tell him to go ahead, I think.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry.
He didn't hear you. Go ahead, Mark.
Who's asking a question? Michael? Okay, sorry.
Yeah, well, kind of to piggyback on what Rick was saying, are we keeping track at all as far as how many man-person hours we're spending on Farmdale? Because kind of like Rick just mentioned, it's no different than KU or anything else. It seems like we're putting a lot of energy. Is any of this work covered under any of these grants, Ann, or anything like that?
No, the reason that I'm explaining this today, and part of my involvement, is because the EPA grants are to Franklin County Fiscal Court. We are the grantee. And so that's why I feel like I need to stay on top of how all these details are working out so that I can be sure that we are representing the county well to a federal agency on behalf of these grants.
No, and I appreciate everything you're doing. I guess, Judge, my other question, I think I've asked it before, is, you've made comments, and Rick and Robert, and, there's a lot of energy being spent out there. Do we log any of that time as far as how much time has actually been spent on this project, just out of curiosity?
No, have not. Remember, we're not only have now it's about a $350,000 grant with them. We've already given them a $350,000 too. As Rick said, we're separate, but we are also, they have no staff. They have nothing. There's 3 board members. That's all they have.
Volunteers.
Pardon me?
Volunteers.
Volunteer board members, basically. Up until recently, I think
yeah,
they
I think
have some
they
stipend, but
now get paid. So
Now,
we're trying to help them get their feet on the ground, and then we'll be happy as we can be to get out, to walk out. But we're trying to help them.
or can I answer a serious question that Sherry asked, and she wanted a direct answer, and she deserves a direct answer. Regarding the resolution that's before you, this is not, the county has no approval, involvement in any fashion. It's a resolution addressing the potential between the city vis-a-vis Farmdale Sanitation, and you are not asked to vote on this resolution at all.
Thank you. I presume such because we were not named as a party in the resolution.
That is usually a good clip, that's correct. Yep, you're right on.
Okay. Okay. All right. And,
Judge, can I ask a question?
yeah. Go ahead.
Quick question. And I've asked it several times. Has anyone seen the Strand report? As I know a couple meetings ago that Robert and or Alan had not seen it or reviewed it.
It's not our report.
It's
not our
Farmdale Sanitation and the city are in regards to the Strand report?
It's not our report. The city share. I believe Robert saw it, but we haven't seen it. We didn't pay for it. We didn't have anything to do with it. They're the ones that looked at what the cost was. So no. But they've determined what the cost. They've determined what the cost is via the Strand report, but no, we haven't.
So as of 2 meetings ago, when I inquired to Alan if he had read it or seen it, and he said no, and Robert had said no as well. Do you know if
I
Alan
do not know.
Farmdale Sanitation Board has?
Don't know.
Do you know if it's been reviewed by the board now?
Do not know. Don't know that. I've been to the meetings and they haven't discussed it. I've been to, I guess, the past meetings, all of their meetings, and I don't remember them discussing it. Okay. Is that it? Everybody through good? All right, Ann, thank you. Thanks. I have, there's a special announcement that I think everybody needs to hear. This is breaking news that I think you want to hear. So, Mr. Hancock, if you'd come forward and read what has just transpired.
Hey, what's going on? Good to see you guys. They have just moved all of the primary elections will be moved from May the 19th until June the 23rd.
Wow.
From May the 19th until June the 23rd. So our primary elections have been moved back to 35 days that they're statutorily allowed to. They're going to move all those. Our office and our local lobby was open today. We are going to try to keep that open as long as possible. But I don't know how much longer we can keep it open. It's really hard to keep social distancing and keep people apart. We're going to do our best, but as soon as I know more about these elections, Secretary of State and the Governor just now printed this out. I just now got it in my hands. So this came out about 15 minutes ago.
Okay, thank you, Jeff, for that report.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it. The next item on the agenda is authorization for approval of the minutes from our special meeting of February 20th at the Capitol. Any discussion on that? Hearing none. Next item is authorization approval of minutes from our regular meeting of February 21st. Any discussion on the minutes? Next item on the agenda is Mr. Quarles. Is authorization to accept the Franklin County Soil Conservation District's fiscal year 2020-2021 budget. Bruce Quarles. Mr. Quarles, if you'll come up to where that is and tell us what you want to say about the Soil Conservation District's budget.
Well, most of the information you've got is probably in your packet. As you'll see, we've only had a little bit of about $10,000 on millage tax where we underestimated, so that's basically the only difference in income besides just a little adjustment for time. On the expenses, you'll notice we had a little increase on dead animal cost, and we anticipated because a large number of animals, an increase in it. And then the other large interior is we've got some structural problems on the building, so you'll notice maintenance, we increased the right smart because we're in the process of getting estimates to see what it'll cost. And that's basically the only thing we've changed in the budget besides just minor ups and downs from last year.
Okay, just accept. Okay, okay. We're accepting the budget, Mr. Quarles, and while you're here, Ann, would you mind getting John Mitchell to come in, please? I'm sorry, Chris, I didn't see you.
Doing that, can I ask Chairman Quarles a question?
You sure may, please.
Sure. Hi, Chairman Quarles, thank you for making it in today. Appreciate your diligence to do this. I just wanted to know if there was anything that you wanted to highlight out of your plan of work for the coming year. Anything that kind of stands out that we need to let the public know, or about what the good work the Soil Conservation District is doing?
I don't think we highlighted anything particularly, added anything new that I can remember at this time. I said all we do is basically updates the thing, and like I said, change the dates on it and the number of farms, which goes down every year. So I don't think a lot of that, anything much is highlighted much. So,
Okay, I just wanted to see if there was anything that really stood out that we needed to make sure the public was aware of, about like the equipment rental, anything new you're bringing into the equipment that could be rented, any of that type of thing.
no, we didn't have any new equipment, but like we still got all the same equipment we have. And like you said, but no, we haven't added any new equipment, no.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Mr. Quarles, this has been a long and drawn-out process, but we have an authorization to approve an amended interagency agreement between Franklin County Fiscal Court and Franklin County Soil Conservation District regarding levying of a tax and associated responsibilities. We've got John Mitchell here. You sent us information from your board that you've turned down a couple things. We've come back and virtually written it. Have you seen a copy of it?
No, sir,
Okay.
no.
Okay. John, do you want to go through any part of it that you want to highlight? We will be picking up animals only in Franklin County based on the PVA based on the census, which is different than the PVA map because some PVA maps have residents in Franklin County or in Woodford County, but are in Franklin County and vice versa. So we decided to go by the U.S. Census. Also, you will be paying $50 a head, that's the amount that you wanted, and you pay $25 on any of those that are brought in. But we're not accepting those. We'll have them take them on up to. How do you want to say that, John?
And $25 for additional animals on the same farm.
I'm sorry, yeah. And then what else was it, John, that you wanted in there that?
To not have them dropped off at.
That's right,
the shop.
okay, that's right. The $25 was the additional on a farm, okay? That's what you asked put in there. This will be reviewed, it will be effective July the 1st, 2020. And then we will relook at that in March or in the spring of 2022, every 2 years.
I can't say for the board that we'll approve, but you probably ought to move that up to March, and you've got
That's
it
what I
in
said.
April.
I think we did.
Probably ought to move that up because we have to have our budget into you before March 15th.
It says March. I'm
So
sorry.
let's move it up to February where we can handle it a month before, if you don't mind. I mean, just convenient, you'll come to us, we'll have to vote it at the board before we get it back to you in March.
These are all the conditions that you asked for.
So,
This is what your board had sent us as a request for
Well,
us.
I haven't seen the thing, so I can't, if it's any change at all, then I have to take it back for the board.
Well, this is going, if this is voted on tonight, this is what it's gonna be.
So, I mean, I can't verify the board will pass it if there's any changes at
That's
all.
fine. That's
Okay?
fine. Rick, isn't that the way it is? If we pass it, this is it.
Well, no, not necessarily. I guess it's, I get to do this, I like to do this with everyone. Well, it depends. They've made a proposal, there was several proposals back and forth. They voted on their version because that's what gave them approval to send it to the county. Then y'all looked at it and made some tweaking to it. If you voted back, that's the only thing that gives you authority to send it back to them. And ultimately, both boards, I say boards, and Chairman Crawls out, I meant boards in fiscal court, each have to pass the respective approved version of the agreement. If the one you got on the table right now, much like the one that the district has, is unacceptable back to the district, then there you go again. And there you got it. They're back and forth. If you don't pass it, and there's no agreement between the two bodies, then you're stuck with the agreement as it exists right now, which has got some problems in measurement and performance, but that's a different question. But the issue here is if you approve it, it's still got to go back to the district to approve. They haven't approved this version. This is just, not to compare it to volleyball or tennis, but this is the only way you can get it back to them with authority saying this is what we are proposing. The two bodies have not agreed to the same agreement.
Okay, then I misunderstood because I thought you said that once we approved it, this is the way it's gonna go. All right, so
No.
you've got,
So can we,
have you sent him a draft?
Judge Wells, can we send this agreement back? Can we send this agreement back to them, to the board, and when they meet, they will look it over?
Yeah, that's the only way,
and then-
no, that's the only way.
We have to vote on it, approve it.
Tamara says we have to vote on it first.
And then.
Right, that's the only way you can, that's the whole point. Or otherwise, if you just send yeah, I mean,
We tried
Let's just say-
the committee before, where they sent representatives from the Soil Conservation District over here. We made a compromise, the whole committee agreed, but then when, it was submitted to the Soil Conservation District, they did not agree. They voted it down. So then it moved to this method because the committee came to a consensus. So now it's between the two boards to volley it back and forth, I guess.
So we have to approve this tonight so he can take it back. Is that right, Rick?
that is correct, sir.
Okay.
But I guess my question is, wouldn't it just been easier to send this back to him, or send this back to the Conservation District, let them review it? I mean, it's been going on over a year.
The whole problem with that, Squire, has been this. They had the committee of delegates that reached a consensus apparently with certain terms, but when it was presented to the board, they rejected that consensus version and then sent it back with some changes. So if we go back to the drawing board, let the committees agree, ultimately the boards have to agree completely, pardon me, and the board didn't agree with the committee approval version.
Right, but they unanimously approved the proposed language that they sent back to us. So, and now we're gonna send something back to them?
My understanding was the proposed language that they sent back was not acceptable and would not be recommended after review by Mr. Mitchell, et cetera. It had some provisions that there was disagreement.
Very minor.
I mean, yeah, you can suck it up and just give back whatever they gave you and, let it ride. But there were some significant questions about that version they sent back.
We we made very minor changes. We removed the provision of dropping off the dead animals at the road department because of the situation we're in now, the public safety and health. We don't want dead animals being dropped off and they pile up because we don't have staff there to remove them. So that provision was removed.
we left, we made very, very minimal changes to what they submitted to us. Rick recommended that we, remove some language because it contradicted itself and it restated itself, so we cleaned it up. Other than that, though, there was very, very few changes.
And I'd like to add, Scotty, that, Squire Tracy, that even if if the judge sent this to him, we haven't voted on it, he doesn't know that we would pass it until we pass it, so we have to pass it in order to.
Somebody's gotta pass it first.
Yeah, there's gotta be a first.
Somebody's got to blink first.
So,
The whole conference.
So I guess my question,
Apologies.
I guess like in comparing the two of them, I noticed we're assessed by the Franklin County PVA. I noticed where that was taken out. I guess my question.
well, okay, I explained
Why
that.
would that be taken out?
Okay.
They trade properties.
Because the PVA and the US Census have two different versions. Robert Hewitt was here and said he asked us to take the PVA out because there are properties that are actually in Franklin County but are on the US Census, they're in Franklin County, but they're assessed by in Woodford County, is that right? Or actually it's vice versa. It's actually the other way.
Shelby, probably.
It's the other way around. They're paying Franklin County taxes, but they're in Woodford County. So that's why he asked, Robert said, it's clear or clean or to go by that as opposed to the PVA.
And if, it says and, so if they are not paying taxes to the district, if they're not paying Franklin County property taxes, then they're not eligible for this. So that is one of the conditions. They have to be paying the millage tax to the district, or they do not qualify.
Yeah. So there's two parts to it. There is going by the US Census and paying taxes to Franklin County.
So I have a question, and it stems from something that Rick just said. He said our road supervisor had some issues with the agreement. Can he elaborate on that just to enlighten us, just to make sure we understand what thought process has gone in from the staff who've been involved in, I guess, massaging the document?
I'll pass that to John, but it basically was twofold. And it goes back to the original agreement, which was to pay the actual cost of the removal, which of course, we've all talked about that and discussed that a couple of times about that being a very difficult measurement. So going back to how to recapture the cost, et cetera, as well as the drop off at the road department per se, caused him some concern from a hygiene and otherwise perspective. But I'll let John answer that one. As I pointed out on a lot of this, I just sat back and just said, okay, what do you want to do? This is a performance thing. You all have to figure out what. John, this is your professional. This is your issue. These are performance things, not term things.
Yeah, that's the only
John's
thing
up.
that I added. That's it. That's the only thing that I wanted in there.
Okay. Squire
John, can you
Sebastian?
say that again? I'm sorry, it was just really garbled. I apologize.
Come up, John, a little bit.
John said that's the only thing that he added.
Yeah, that was it. That's the only thing that I requested to be put in there. Everything else is basically the same as the previous agreements, as far as I could tell.
Okay, any other questions on it?
So John, the only thing that John wanted in there was to make sure the animals were not delivered to the road department, correct?
Yes.
From my end, I was just always pushing it to come up with a truly objective standard for predictability, that service X cost Y, and you know it coming into it, you know it going out of it.
And there's gonna be a review every 2 years to look at it, so, we'll get this going in July and move forward.
So, can I ask one more question?
Sure.
Stems from looking at this previously. We were told a few courts ago, when the other agreement was sent back, that the court didn't need to approve the changes that were sent to the Soil Conservation District. So what makes this different or unique in light of what we were told before? I just wonder about that.
I can take that up. The question arose the last time about correspondence between the judge executive on how to perform the existing contract between the district and the county. He had sent a letter describing, if I recall correctly, and I do, the existing contract, the performance terms, and what the billing practices were going to be from this point forward. That required no court intervention, no court action, no court approval, because that's just performance of the existing agreement. This is a new agreement. So a new agreement does require the court to approve it, and then the judge would have to execute the performance of that. The other one is just to kind of enforce the other agreement.
But I thought the other document had some different terms that were in the original agreement. I'm not quibbling, I'm just trying to make sure I understand what the decision is, because the court was told we didn't have to do anything with the other that was sent back, but it had some different terms, but now we're gonna have to. I just want to understand, that's all.
Now, I'm at a disadvantage because I'm not looking at the two documents you're talking about. I thought the discussion the last time was a letter that the judge sent about the billing practices under the terms of the agreement. The one before the court now, after everybody's negotiated, is this version of the agreement to give them authority to sit back and say, this is what our board has agreed to. Now, if we're talking about two different sets of documents or whatever, I don't know.
Man, I don't either.
I know, the one that I focused on completely was trying to get to a basis where everybody could agree as to one document and then move forward to perform it, where you know up front it's going to cost X number of dollars to perform Y things, and then next case, next deal.
Hey, I'm in that big picture boat with you right there. I'm totally with you.
Okay, Squire Blackburn, I think you've got your finger up. I'm hoping that means a question.
No, somebody passed him too close. That's the wrong finger, Joe.
Okay. Squire Blackburn.
Yeah, my question is, so if we vote on this tonight and pass it to them, and they don't agree with it, does it come back to us again?
Yes.
Okay.
In which case, you're stuck with the agreement as it stands right now. There needs to be a new agreement.
Squire Muller.
So there was some question that John said he didn't want to be the one to police what addresses. And I know you said we're going to go by the DVA, but who's actually going to create that list? Because I know some farms border some pay tax in both counties. Is that in the verbiage at all? Or have we worked out if that's Mr. Boro's he's gonna do that, or who's responsible for that?
John?
We were gonna do that, and I'm sure they will back it up and make sure we're right, but no, we're doing that.
Okay. Squire Tracy?
But just to follow up, but according to this agreement, if the farm owner is not paying the tax to the district, then they do not qualify for this service, correct?
Correct.
Is that right, Rick?
Yes, sir, that's correct. Okay. Well, that is what is proposed, yes, sir, because the whole point of millage tax, correct, is that it pays for this service.
Okay. And I know this question is probably, well, it's two different pieces, I guess, but just one quick question. I hope it never happens, but what happens if the animal composting facility closes? The current facility, what happens if it were to close?
Well, they're still obligated to pick up the animals.
Right.
Yeah, but what's the county gonna do with the animals?
We don't know. We don't know
Well,
yet.
we-
We'll have to either contract with the services or take it to the landfill. Don't know yet.
That's what was done before.
Correct.
Are there any other questions? Okay, seeing none. Thank you, John. Thank you, Mr. Quarles. Thank you for presenting your budget and going through this. You will be getting the agreement as soon as we can get it out to you, if it passes.
All right, thank you.
The next item on the agenda, John, if you would ask Sam Marcus to come in. Sam's got him. Thank you, Chris. This next item is authorization to approve a resolution pledging a commitment to the Franklin County Humane Society. Mr. Marcus, there's a piece of tape somewhere.
Up here.
Come closer towards us. There you go. Yeah. Yeah. And here is the court and us and there. So you got us three sides. Okay. We copied the resolution that the city gave to you, and it is just a resolution saying that we will commit X number of dollars. You have asked us for $200,000 in commitment plus $200,000 in in-kind services.
800 plus 200.
800 plus 200.
If it was possible.
Okay. We have, as you know, you were with us. We've been out on the property. We were with you, your engineer, Lambert Moore, myself, Robert Hewitt, our engineer, and looked at it. And Lambert, do you want to reply before I reply?
I just think, I'll reply. I think it's a bad lot. It's got a ditch running through it that I don't see a viable way of diverting it. All the water in the whole subdivision runs through that property. It's gonna be very expensive, to put a road in there to be equal to the standards of the rest of the development. I'd like to stay away from the in-kind if we possibly could.
Okay. That's Lambert's,
Well, and also our road department is stretched.
yeah.
And, they'd have to spend a lot of time out there that ditches wouldn't be getting cleaned out, trees wouldn't be trimming.
Chris, would you
And so on
ask
and so
John
forth.
Mitchell to step in here just a minute in case there's a question for him?
And
John.
if there's too amount of money that we maybe would have to put up instead or something, but I think when you evaluate that lot and actually get some hard numbers, you're gonna find out it's gonna be an expensive development.
John, and I'll let you elaborate, I'm sorry to bring you back, but you and I and Lambert and Robert and Jonathan Otis talked afterwards, and you felt like there's no way the road department could do what is being asked of on that lot.
No, I don't have the equipment on hand to do a lot of what's required there. I just do not have the equipment.
Yeah. Okay, Sam?
So I guess the question I would have, some of the work we was talked about was grading, aside from the paving, and I don't know, did you all look at the grading issue part of it, or was that?
That's one of my equipment concerns.
Okay.
I don't have.
We did.
Okay, and then aside from the road, the other thing that was mentioned, there were parking lot,
Right.
things of that nature that, I don't
Yeah,
know if
right.
you did sidewalks or any of those things. I mean, because those would be separate away from the roadway. I didn't know.
Right,
what
yeah,
the-
we looked at that too, and your building is situated right on top of that ditch, and the engineer that day said that, well, that could be moved. I don't think they even looked at that lot when they did your preliminary building design, because they didn't know that ditch was there. They just looked at the original topographic maps before the Carpenter Farm was developed, and it's changed a lot since then.
Well, they only had what the city had provided, and,
Right.
you know, I don't think they
Yeah,
had the most
I
recent.
don't think they went out and actually looked at the lot, so it's gonna reflect when they do.
Okay. So, Lambert has suggested, and I agree with him, that we give, and don't know what that amount is, this is for discussion, in lieu of in-kind services. We had talked and agreed virtually, just, on the surface of $750,000, and possibly give a little more, but not do and make a stipulation of not doing in-kind work on that property. I think John is asking that we don't do the in-kind as well. Is that right, John?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Well, if we go back to your last meeting, you had talked about 750,000, and at the time you talked about 100,000 in kind. Now, if you can't do the 100,000 in kind, we understand that, but it's backtracking. If you're not doing the in kind, then it seems that it should be 850,000 at a minimum, or you're doing less than you'd already talked about previously.
Okay.
I'll just mention, I sent this information to all of you the other day, because I didn't know where we stood on in-kind, but I wanted you all to know that we had more detailed professional estimates of the project, and, we've done our best to control the costs, but we were looking at more like $4.5 million than we were $4 million all in, and that's with equipment and everything. So even if you met our $1 million request, we would be looking at raising $1.5 million instead of $1 million to get this thing done. So any deviation you all have from what the city did, which was $1 million, any deviation we have to make up, it just makes it that much harder to do the project. Now, I know these are difficult times, I know these are uncertain times, and I appreciate your consideration for this now, but honestly, to me, it's more important to get this done for the community than ever, because the community needs it, and we need it. We need a win. We need some good news out here, folks. Okay, because there's a lot of bad news right now, and the community needs good news, and quite frankly, the Humane Society, because we have been working so diligently for the past several years, and especially the past couple of years, and the programs we're doing, and we're not just taking care of animals, we're serving, if we serve over 3,000 animals, think of how many people that means we're serving in the community, right? Because every family that has an animal, there are 2 or 3 family members associated with that animal. So, we're serving 7,000, 8,000, 9,000 people a year. And the community needs it, and we need it. We're facing right now the same uncertainty everybody is. We're looking at cutting services, we're looking at taking care of our staff, we're looking at all the issues that make life difficult for everybody here over the next couple of months. We need something to say, you all stand behind us, we support this project, we want to help you get it done, because it's going to be a big enough challenge anyway, especially now in this environment, for us to raise money when there is so much uncertainty. But we got to do it. I mean, we just all have to pull together and get this done because it's so important. So, that's the plea. I mean, I don't know what else I can tell you all.
Okay. Well, let's talk. Let us have, you stand here, we'll talk. Are there questions for Mr. Marcus? Are there any suggestions? Oh, you have one, Squire Tracy?
I do. This is for Squire Moore. After going out and looking at the site, your professional opinion, what type of money do you see in site work to get this lot prepared to build on?
My professional job is not doing estimates like that. It's more to an estimate like that than just looking at it. You have to do engineering. Really don't have any numbers to go by, Squire. More than I think our road department needs to be getting into.
Do you have a number that you suggest, or do you have any, do you wanna suggest?
I would say, to put the road in the way it should be, and the parking lot and the grading for the building, I think you're looking at $500,000.
We did have a professional estimate. Now, the only problem, I mean, that as Squire Morris raised it with the estimate that we sent you, because I think you all got that, is that they didn't have all the contours. So, I mean, there are gonna be probably some issues with that, but when we were out there with the engineer, and the landscape and the engineer, which is John Carmen, he noted those issues, and I think they're working on those issues. I did not have the impression that the increase was going to be substantial from what he said, but we don't know till we get that back. But again, that's on us, because our request, that's the advantage you all have, I guess, tonight. You do our request, you're done. The rest of it's up to us.
Well, that's what we're working on. Are there any magistrates that want to throw out a number over 750 instead of doing in-kind? Last time we talked about 100,000. Can any of you live with giving them 850,000 and no in-kind? Nobody can live with that?
Don't forget that Marty Booth was for the million, even though she's not here.
Yeah. Lambert Moore, can you?
We might need to put this off until they do some more.
He's asking for us to, it's
I
on
understand.
to.
I know.
Any of y'all want to speak up? Magistrates, any of you? Squire Muller?
Hey Sam, I appreciate everything you guys do. You don't know the fix the water. We all know Franklin County has a lot of things going on right now. I was actually surprised. The former got 750 with our current financial situation. So I credit all the other magistrates and the judge for getting there. I could probably go another 50. I could make it even 800. And that's probably where I'm at. So I'm just throwing that out there.
Anybody else want to go? Lambert said he'd go with it. We need anybody else from the court?
But Judge, if I want to stipulate this, if we do that, it's pertinent to this property. If they decide to go to another property, we reevaluate.
Okay, that's fair enough. Anybody else? Anybody else? Squire Tracy, you up for that?
I didn't hear what Squire Moore said, I'm sorry.
Squire Moore made a great point that he would be willing to go 50,000 more to show a commitment of 800,000 as long as it's with the Carpenter Farm property. If it doesn't go on the Carpenter Farm, then it would be reevaluated. Squire Blackburn, Squire Sebastian, anybody want to say anything?
Well, I spoke up at the last meeting, and I've got my reservations on putting this much money when we've got so many other pressing things. Sounds to me like you've got your votes already.
No, we don't.
No, we don't.
We don't.
Members of the court, may I remind you something, that this money isn't, it's a pledge, it's a promise. It's not truly allocated, that's a budgetary function, and that's gonna come in when it actually gets drawn down. I'm sure the treasurer could expand on that, but this is a non-binding resolution of support with a certain amount for planning purposes. It is not an allocation such as a budget.
And I have said, well, I'm sorry, Rick, go ahead. You got
I was
the
just gonna say
mic.
that, well, I was just, and I apologize for it, I was just trying to just keep it solid to where you're at. Neither the city nor the county have actually done budget amendments to write checks at this point. My understanding was that this was kind of for planning purposes, that this is on the table, this is what we're looking at devoting for this service, so everybody can sort of get on the same page and Humane Society, the city, and the county can plan going forward. It is not a budget, it is not a budget amendment, it is not an allocation, it's not a check to be written.
It's a pledge.
If Squire Tracy, Squire Sebastian, Squire Blackburn want more, I'll go with 800. I'll give 100. I'd go with 100,000. Obviously, I'll go with 50, but I'll go with 100,000 to make it 850 because we did talk about doing 100,000, and the 100,000 was going to be money too. So I would go with 100,000 to make it 850. But if you're not,
I don't know if we have the 800.
Well,
we don't even have enough for 800. I've said if they want to raise it, if they didn't think that 50 was
How
enough.
do you feel about that?
So I'll speak up, and I sat on the strategic planning committee and brought up several times, asking before the site visit was held if the road department felt that it could provide the in-kind services, and I think that tipped off the point of actually going, and I'm glad everybody went to look at the site. But during those discussions, I also brought up, and I used these words, we are one disaster away from using all of our reserve fund. And right now, we're in extremely uncertain times that is impacting our community. And that is a terrible thing that's sweeping across the country. With that in mind, I don't see in good conscience, and certainly circumstances are changing every day, but they are deteriorating every day. And I don't see that we can give more not knowing what is coming down the road. So, you can work me for the 50, but I can't really be in for the 100.
Okay.
Just in good conscience to serve the people of our community.
Okay.
And I haven't moved off that point. I've said that straight up every time.
So I think
Sam's heard that.
I think important question, especially for budgetary process, is when do you anticipate coming to the fiscal court and coming to the city commission and saying, okay, we need this money? Right now, you just need a commitment that the city and the county are going to commit so you can raise funds. So what are you thinking, not in this budget, not in the new 2021 budget, would you be asking for it? Are you a year away from asking for those funds?
Yes, good question. So our goal going into this was to raise our share of the funds in a year. And, the idea was that we would start in April. That was where we had hoped to be at the dinner, which has been postponed, as you all know. But the idea was to start in April to raise the funds in a year, next April, and then start work. Construction would take at least a year, and probably with all the site work that needs to be done, it'd be more like 15 months. So the funds, I think at a minimum, would be in a year, a little over a year from now. Probably more likely it'd be into not the next budget, but actually the budget after that.
Okay.
And I would think it would work where they could be released too during construction. I don't know, as long as we know that the court has authorized the money, I don't know that it has to be in the bank, in our account before then, even before construction begins. I don't know the details on that, but the option you would have, at the very least, you have either a year from now, or more than a year from now, not this coming budget, but the next one, or you'd have the option of 2 budget cycles for funding. Because it's possible, even if we did our best work, got the fundraising done next April, okay, that'd still be your next budget. And we said, all right, we're ready for at least some of the funds. If you wanted to release some of the funds now, we're starting construction, but you would still have the option of releasing the rest of the funds in the budget after that. So I think either way, you're probably looking at, either 2 years in the budget or 2 budget years, if that makes sense.
Okay. Does that help you all, Squires, any?
I mean, the other thing I probably should say is, the less you all are doing, the more we have to do. The more we have to do, the longer it takes. As far as Squire Sebastian, I appreciate what you're saying, certainly about a disaster away. But, we at the Humane Society are also one disaster away from being out of business. And I don't know what we do if that occurs. We have an emergency plan, but it's limited as to how long that could be in effect, depending on flooding or things of that nature. If there's a flood, that shelter is not going to be habitable after the next flood. I mean, it's done. So, and keep in mind then by state law, you all would have the obligation to provide a facility. So I don't know what that would cost, but it'd be on you all. Now the city can't duck that because the city is obviously, they have their ordinance, their animal code ordinance. But the city has come up with the millions, so they're in. But if there's a disaster, it's your all's responsibility. So please keep that in mind as well.
Okay. Okay, we've got 3 for 50, Squire Tracy or Squire Blackburn. Are you all willing to commit 850,000? I mean 800,000. Sorry.
Judge, what I'd like to say is, I don't, listening to Squire Moore, obviously it sounds like there's some problems with that lot. So I'd like to second what Squire proposed in regards to that, if I support the 800, that it goes with that lot. And if they decide to change routes, which has happened in the past, so if they change, directions, that it has to come back in front of us.
Okay, I think that's, I agree with that 100%. Squire Blackburn, you okay with that?
I was outspoken at the last meeting, we discussed this, and I agree with Sam 100%. This is something we have to have. It's our community needs to have it. It's something we're constitutionally obligated to do. I'm just not sold that it costs so much money. I mean, $4.5 million is a lot of money for a facility, and I know they've done their research. I've been a part of a lot of buildings, and I know a little bit too. So I'm just saying, I just think there's a lot of things, like Squire Sebastian was pointing out, that need our attention. And then there's things coming we don't even see. So, I'm all for giving them money. It's not that I'm not giving them. It's a big number, and I think they could. You seem to have the votes. I mean,
okay.
I just don't want to give that much.
Okay.
That's
easy to say. Just you don't want to give that much.
I'm representing them.
Okay. Okay, Sam, we're going to go with 800,000. It sounds like we've got the number of votes for 800,000, and we'll go with that as a resolution when we go to vote. Okay?
Okay.
All right.
So can I ask a question? I do have a question about the resolution, and I heard someone say that the resolution mirrored exactly what the city had said, but Rick, can you pull up the therefore clause and explain that really clearly, because there's some language in the therefore clause, and I'll read the words. On or about the date the remaining funds for the project are made available. I just want to make sure I understand what that means, because I wasn't really clear on that. And then, do we need to? Let me fix one thing, okay?
So I don't have access to that document. I can't switch over, and I'm running into the same power problems you've got on it. My understanding was and I didn't draft it for the city, was this was presented, sort of copy and paste version on a non-binding resolution that doesn't mean, it means something, don't get me wrong, but in the great scheme of things, what's going on right now, it probably should be viewed with that appropriate lens. It is non-binding to the extent that it does not allocate formal funds, and the court, because of other contingencies that, especially now, may have to look at other funding alternatives or other funds in a lot of ways. This does not allocate a certain amount of money. This is not a budget. It's not a budget amendment. It's not a budget ordinance. This is a resolution in good faith that this is what we're going to try to do.
Sure, I got you.
If
But
it helps, I think
based
I
on
can answer that.
the
Okay.
conditions that Squire Moore discussed and Squire Tracy said yes, and I'm sitting here nodding my head in agreement with what Squire Moore had said, those conditions aren't necessarily in this resolution, so I don't know, can we wordsmith this resolution and amend it and then vote on it as a body?
Could I ask you what the point of doing that is, since it's non-binding anyway? I mean, what you're going to do is the closer you get it locked down to an ordinance, the more it looks like it is binding. Right now, it's not binding. I think you'll box yourself into a corner.
It might help if
Well, I'm
I,
not trying to do any boxing in, but I'm trying to make sure that, sometimes, construction projects unfortunately languish because there are issues. Once you get started and, rains happen and snows and all kinds of things happen. And then maybe the discussion that we've had today gets lost in the fog of some of that should circumstances change. That's all because it sounds like the court trying to be very clear. That's the only thing I'm only raising that because I don't think there's one soul in this discussion that doesn't agree with Mr. Marcus and the board of the Humane Society that something absolutely has to be done. He's heard us all say, yep, we agree. The issue is, it's just like when you're going out to buy a house. You only have so much money to do what you need to do. So we, the court, are trying to be very judicious in making sure that the full breadth of services, and this being one, that we have to take care of, we are able to financially commit to do those and don't overcommit. That's the key thing.
At the time where you would actually allocate the funds is when I believe those terms and conditions would be appropriate to be set forth, much like a sale contract for a house, for example, when you actually do the contract portion. I would not encourage the court, I guess putting term you want to it, I guess that's the whole point. Add anything you want to just as a memorial, but remember, until you give two readings on a budget with a certain amount of money under certain terms, it's just a resolution. It's just a pledge. It's just an agreement that this is what we're going to look at in the future.
Okay.
There's no authority to spend a dime under this resolution.
Okay, Sam wants to speak.
I just wanted to hopefully help answer Squire Sebastian's question. The other funds that are referred to at the end of the resolution, those are the funds that the Humane Society has to raise. So the contingency is that your all's part of the funding doesn't exist until we raise our share of the funds. That's the other funds that are being referred to, if that helps.
But her point and is a very valid point, and I think you understand where we're coming from. We're committing to this on the Carpenter Farm property.
Sure, that's
We're not
fair.
committing to this to any other piece of property.
Sure, that's fair. And I think the resolution discusses the Carpenter Farm site, I believe.
Does it say the Carpenter
I
Farm?
don't have it in front of me, so I think it did.
I don't think so.
It does not, it does not.
Did?
None of that language is in there, but, I think,
No.
again, I think everybody is, in good faith trying to
Oh, I think the city one.
create the parameters so that the community is very clear that the fiscal court supports this. I think that is the overarching message that we have to take away from this today.
Okay, so do I add are you all okay if Rick saying that this is not binding, and then when it comes time to give the money, we can say we are not gonna give the money if it's not on the Carpenter farm?
It makes sense.
Okay, you okay with that, Lambert?
I mean, that's
Yeah, 'cause
great.
this doesn't give any money, we'll do that later.
Yeah.
And we can make it in the motion, right? Can we
Okay.
just say, make the motion when we go to vote, authorization to approve resolution pledging a commitment in the amount of $800,000 for construction on the Carpenter Farm to the Franklin County Humane Society?
Yes.
Okay, there you go.
All right.
And I have one other question about that. So as I understand it, that this is not an $800,000 lump sum payment, potential payment out. Is that, please someone just make sure I understand that correctly? Like a demand note. Okay, we've started, it's time to.
Yes, ma'am, let me say that correctly. This is a non-binding resolution that commits not a single dime to a single thing for anybody, for any purpose or cause. This is just an agreement that says this is what we're going to be looking at for planning purposes for both sides, that we support, that is the body politic supports the Humane Society to a certain extent under these parameters. The rubber's gonna have to hit the road when the money is actually allocated. You all have talked about a grant, a repayment if it goes out of business. You've talked about reverter clauses on deeds. There's been a lot of discussions on how to mechanically implement that. This is the first step, setting forth the parameters. Okay, how much are we talking about? And then the details will follow through. This does not allocate a single dime. The city didn't allocate a single dime, but this is the starting point you gotta go through to do those mechanics.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, Rick, and I think I've been the one to muddy the waters about making sure that we have everything in place to cover as many contingencies, because I think the Humane Society wants that as well. And again, I understand that this is a pledge and they need that to move forward. I think everybody most certainly has stepped up and said, yep, we know we want to be part of this. But I think the other thing that we want to make sure everybody understands is this is, as I understand it, this is not a lump sum request at one time. They will come back for allocations throughout the building process. Really a question to say, I want to make sure.
We're not, you cleared it up and said this is not a lump sum, because you might need a little, as you dig in, and then the rest in another budget. Isn't that what you said?
I said that that's possible. The only issue would be if you decided you wanted to defer it some reason from the next budget entirely into the following budget, then it could be a lump sum at that point, because you've deferred it as far as you can get. But the potential is there to do it in two pieces.
Okay.
It's just that's up to you all. At that point, whether you do it in two pieces or allocate it that way, or whether you say no, we want to go as far out as we can. But if you do that, then it's possible that it would be in one sum in that second budget period. So, I mean, just to clear that up, I don't want to leave any misinformation out there.
I understand. Okay.
If that makes sense,
Yeah.
I hope.
Are there any other questions?
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you all very
Okay.
much.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Sam.
it.
The next item on the agenda is authorization to approve a resolution to support the transportation of non-public school students within Franklin County. Thank you, Ann. I'm sorry that you're having to wait so
No
long.
problem, no problem. You all are familiar with this program. We've been participating in this for a number of years. The school district, it's been a little busy out there, I'm sure, as it has here, so they haven't gotten their numbers to me for this year yet, but we do have to let the state know whether or not we intend to participate. And I don't see that the amounts are going to be significantly different than what we've had over the past few years. So just as a little piece of history, last year, what we ended up paying the school district and then what we were reimbursed by the state, we ended up paying them $16,111.50. And that's based on that cost per pupil per day times days transported times number of students transported that's in the resolution that you've got in front of you. And we were actually reimbursed that full amount plus an additional $416.07. So that even covered our administrative costs last year. It always depends on how many school districts apply for that money, so we don't know, for certain that we would get an additional amount this year, but over the past few years, we have been fully reimbursed, especially since the school district, or one of the private schools moved to a new location. It used to be much more expensive to transport those students than it is today. So I'm here to ask you if you want to continue to participate in this program for this school year.
I'm a yes.
Yes,
That's 2, and I'm 3. Is there a 4?
Michael had to give it a thumbs up.
Okay, all right. We got enough to go. We're gonna move forward on that. And the next item.
Okay, and the next item is to approve the application for a grant from the Transportation Cabinet for their volunteer fire assistance. And as a reminder, those grant funds are to fight wildfires in the less accessible parts of our county. So that would be like the Bald Knob area in the northern part of Franklin County. What the fire department has expressed that they need this year is a replacement pump system for brush truck number 7. The total on that would be $10,377 for that equipment. It's a 50% match, but there's a cap on the state funds of $5,000, so it would be $5,000 in grant funds and $5,377 in county match.
so Ann, I've got 2 questions. Do you know how old this brush truck is, that being one? And do you know if this equipment, once we get it, could it be transitioned to another vehicle? Because I'm solidly behind, anytime we can write a grant and get some money, I'm for it.
I don't know the age of the brush truck. I'm sorry I didn't get that information from the chief, but this equipment is a drop-in unit, so that I'm assuming that should they have to switch to a different vehicle, they could switch that equipment over as well. It comes in a configuration that's dropped into the current brush truck. You'd have to
Thank
ask
you, just what I needed to hear.
You'd have to ask the chief for the specifics on that. I don't know the technical part of it.
Anybody else? Any other questions on that? Okay, Miss Ann, thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good evening and a safe journey home.
You too.
Thank you for your work tonight. The next item on the agenda is authorization.
Thanks, Ann.
Ann,
Yes.
do you want?
I think she just said thanks.
She said thanks,
Oh.
Ann.
Oh, okay. The next item is authorization to approve legal service agreement with KMK Law to develop an area tax increment finance district, TIF, to be shared with the city. Mr. Sparks, you have been working with, you and myself have been working with Mr. Parsons. And I know you found him quite competent in this field of TIF, or tax increment financing. Your voice is not on, Rick.
I mean, that's the happiest I've ever made y'all when I talk to you here. No offense taken. A couple of weeks ago, month about plus, you all were called upon after a joint city-county presentation to review a certain series of plans, and it was presented there that the developer was wanting to utilize, and those are my neighbors four-wheeling up here in the holler, so it's been a lot of fun. So you all were called upon then to utilize a version of the tax increment financing system is what they asked you to do, city and the county both, to allow the increment of improved value, et cetera, to basically pay for the development. And Mr. Parsons was asked after research, et cetera, to be the city and the county's liaison, representative, advisor, as this progresses on acquisition and processing of the tax increment financing. So this agreement would allow him and his law firm to represent the city and the county both, basically split the cost on monitoring, evaluating the increment financing plan, et cetera, for the parcel B or what everybody calls the parcel B development.
Not to exceed
So that's why it's written-
25,000.
I'm sorry, that's why it's written in such a way where it refers to, you split the cost, they send a bill, you split the bill, city and county pays it. 50/50 per.
Not to exceed 25,000.
Not to exceed.
Okay, any discussion?
Quick question, Rick. What did you say, what was the process in regards to selecting this firm?
Mr. Ross apparently had done some research and, he has done several in northern Kentucky, western Kentucky, et cetera, and came, I guess, highly recommended on hers. They invited me over to meet with them. I looked at different projects that he had done, that he is currently doing as well, and he's represented cities, counties, and otherwise. It was not a bid process, it's professional services.
Any other questions? Squire Muller, do you have a question? Go ahead, Squire.
Yeah, thank you, Rick, thanks for everything you're doing on that. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah. Or could.
I guess my question is, I've had a couple meetings with people that have done tips and things like that. I was wondering if we would be able to sit down with the city and have a joint meeting to kind of discuss things before we take it to legal. My thoughts.
We're already talking about that, to have a joint meeting with the city on this. Keith Parker and I, Keith's out of town, but we've talked about that, and we're looking at it in a few weeks, not when we get closer to what's being asked here. So that answer your question?
Okay, I guess where I am is I would rather have that joint meeting first and to hire everybody.
Okay, I'll pass that on, but, okay, we need to, this needs to be, we can't move forward unless we have somebody to represent us to look at different options that are out there. So that's what this is about, and then we'll move forward and try to get this information kind of in a nutshell where we know what the options are. We don't know what the options are at this point in time, or defined. And that, wouldn't you say that, Rick?
That's the purpose of his engagement. Not the problem. The presentation was that they were going to, and I realized this was a world ago, that they were going to develop parcel B in a certain manner, utilizing a certain financing mechanism. You know, they even said, well, if you don't do it, then we're going to go to a different idea, a different plan. This would retain somebody.
Can be scaled back.
They was going to do something different. I just know they just said it'd be different. They said, here's what we're going to do. This is how we want you to pay for it. And let's move forward. And Mr. Parsons' group, that's what they do, is they set up the geographical area, the things that are identified, how those increment financings are done, the scale, et cetera. And that's the starting point to evaluate their plan as to financing and how to set that up in the city and county side. And even as you can hear me describing this, we were lucky to have Mr. Parsons on board because this is a very specialized area of the law and transactions. And I don't even purport to know the details of what we're going to put together. You need a specialist.
Okay. Michael's kind of out. Michael, you there? There you are. Okay. All right, we're going to go on unless there are other questions. Okay, the next item is the second reading and approval of an amendment to ordinance number 5, 2019 relating to the budget for fiscal year. Susan's not here. If you'll look at your report, item 10 is insurance proceeds. That I think is from a wreck in it, Tambra.
Yes.
And then the county clerk's receipts of $77,000 in excess fees. So you can see where that's going, where those monies are going. Any questions on that?
Is that contingency reserve going, like earmark, like we've spoken in the past, towards election equipment or things like that?
Yeah, that's why she created a
Yes.
contingency reserve.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. The next item is the authorization to approve budget transfers for fiscal year 2019 and 20. And that's the park committee discussed the need for additional funds to cover chemicals for the golf course. And the park improvement line has excess funds, so we're just transferring monies from one line to the other. From park improvement, let's see, needs additional funds to cover chemicals, yeah. Park improvement to the golf course line item, maintenance. Any questions on that? Okay, the next item is the treasurer's report. Unfortunately, Susan's not here, but just kind of gives you an overview where we are.
This is the month end for February.
Yeah, ending
So-
2/29, yeah.
Yes. She closed out February, and that's what this report represents.
The next item is payment of bills. Any questions on payment of the bills? Okay, hearing none, are you all okay to go right now into the voting session?
Yes.
Did I hear yes? Okay? Okay,
Yeah,
thumbs up?
and thumbs down.
That's better, yeah, thank you.
You talk
Okay.
to them, all right?
Yeah.
You call the roll?
Yes. As soon as she's ready.
Okay, right.
Okay, this is the Franklin County Fiscal Court voting session for March 16th, 2020. Clerk, call the roll, please.
Squire Sebastian,
Here.
Squire Blackburn,
Present.
Squire Muller,
Present.
Squire Tracy,
Here.
Squire Booth, Squire Moore,
Here.
Judge Wells.
Here, would you please stand for the pledge? Squire Moore, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
United States of America. For which it stands, one nation, under God,
Indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
justice for all.
Well, we're learning something. I'm not sure that's gonna work.
Yeah, that's what
No, but on all days and on all the things that we've seen in the last couple of days, that was a good thing to be said.
Absolutely. Thank you. Great point, Mr. Attorney. Okay, the first item on the agenda is authorization for approval of minutes from our special meeting of February 2020. Now, if you cannot, if your voice doesn't come through, on a vote, if you'll give me a thumbs up to try to say something, but if you can't, do a thumbs up or thumbs down. So I have a motion by Squire Blackburn. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Squire Moore. Discussion? Call the roll.
Squire Sebastian,
Yes.
Squire Blackburn,
Yes.
Squire Muller,
Yes.
Squire Tracy,
Yes.
Squire Moore,
Yes.
Judge Wells.
Yes. Next item is authorization for approval of minutes from a regular meeting of February 21st, 2020.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Squire Moore. Is there a second? Second by Squire Tracy. Thank you. Discussion? Call the roll.
Squire Sebastian,
Yes.
Squire Blackburn,
Yes.
Squire Muller,
Yes.
Squire Tracy,
Yes.
Squire Moore,
Yes.
Judge Wells.
Yes. Next item is authorization to accept the Franklin County Soil Conservation District's fiscal year 2020-2021 budget.
So moved.
So moved.
Seconded by Squire Sebastian, motion by Squire Moore. Discussion? Call the roll.
Squire Sebastian,
Yes.
Squire Blackburn,
Yes.
Squire Muller, Squire Muller,
Squire Muller? Okay,
Yes.
thank you. You got it.
Squire Tracy,
Yes.
Squire Moore,
Yes.
Judge Wells.
Yes. The next item is authorization to approve an amended interagency agreement between the Franklin County Fiscal Court and the Franklin County Soil Conservation District regarding levying of a tax and associated responsibilities.
So moved.
Squire Moore, is there a second? Anybody gonna give a second? Scotty? Thank you. Squire Tracy, second. Okay, call the roll.
Squire Sebastian,
Yes, play my vote, sorry, my button stuck, I think. I was trying to second to, as well, so, I'm gonna vote yes, and I'm anxious to see what we get back from the Soil Conservation District so that we can all get on the same page and looking forward to that, thank you.
Squire Blackburn,
I want to echo Squire Sebastian's comments. We all get on the same page, and I vote yes.
Squire Muller,
Yes.
Squire Tracy,
I'd like to just kind of repeat and touch on what the county attorney said. This vote merely passes this as a yes vote to merely just send it back over to them to let them review it and make any changes that they see or that they think that need to be made. So this is just merely a vote to pass this back to them. So yes.
May I qualify that, Squire?
Sure.
Yes, sir.
I hope that after this has been volleyed back and forth in purpose of discussion and I guess, well, the rules are a little bit more flexible right now, so I'll run with this. It's been tightened up to just about as tight as it could possibly be. I would hope there would not be a bunch of back and forth. If not, the court will be stuck with the agreement we have right now.
Thank you.
But as I understood it, County Attorney, I understood it the same way as Squire Tracy explaining it, so my vote's in line with that. That's the way I understood it.
But it is-
Thank you.
It is being addressed in good faith that this is the agreement. If they'll pass it, we're good to go, because the efforts so far to send it to committee, et cetera, that's just not worked.
Thank you.
As you were.
Squire Moore,
Thank you.
Yes.
Judge Wells.
Yes. The next item is authorization to approve a resolution pledging a commitment to the Carpenter Farm property only, an amount of $800,000 to the Franklin County Humane Society.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, call the roll.
Second.
I'm sorry. What'd you say, JJ? Okay. Go
Squire
ahead.
Sebastian,
Yes.
Squire Blackburn, Squire Blackburn,
Squire Blackburn?
No.
Okay.
Squire Muller,
Yes.
Squire Tracy,
Yes.
Squire Moore,
Reluctantly, yes.
Judge Wells.
Let me say this, Squire, when you and I saw that property, and I cannot believe that they've been going on a design on a piece of property that they never saw, that there is a huge drainage ditch 6 foot deep, at least, wouldn't you say?
8 or 10 feet wide.
Going right through the middle of it, and they had no idea that that drainage ditch was in there. And yes, they're going to work around it and work through it. It has been my fault from day one that they should have gone with the old State Journal building, and I'm sorry that they haven't. But this is the route they're going to, and I'm willing to say yes to this resolution of $800,000 for the Carpenter Farm property only, unless, and if there are other changes, I sure will look at it. Okay, the next item is authorization to approve a resolution to support the transportation of non-public school students with Franklin County.
So moved.
So moved.
So moved.
Third, let them.
Seconded by Squire Blackburn.
Okay, motion by Moore.
Moore, yep.
Second by Blackburn.
Yes. Call the roll.
Squire Sebastian,
Yes.
Squire Blackburn,
Yes.
Squire Muller,
Yes.
Squire Tracy,
Yes.
Squire Moore,
Yes.
Judge Wells.
Yes. Next item is authorization to approve a resolution in support of submission of an application for grant funds with the Kentucky Division of Forestry Volunteer Fire Assistance Grant Program.
Well, since
So
I-
moved.
By Squire Sebastian, seconded by
Blackburn,
who?
I think it was Blackburn.
Blackburn, okay. Did you want to say something, Squire?
No,
Moore?
that's no.
Okay, call the roll.
Squire Sebastian,
Yes.
Squire Blackburn,
Yes.
Squire Muller,
Yeah.
Squire Tracy,
Yes.
Squire Moore,
Yes.
Judge Wells.
Yes. Next item is authorization to approve a legal service agreement with KMK Law to develop an area tax increment finance district, TIF district, not to exceed $25,000 with the city and the county. I mean, in the law firm, sorry.
Not everybody at once. So moved.
Thank you, Squire Moore.
I second.
Thank you. Okay, call the roll.
Squire Sebastian,
I'm gonna vote no, and I'm gonna explain my vote. I don't feel like I know enough about this. So I would rather know more before I go in and commit county funds to something that I'm not very clear on at this point. Thank you.
Squire Blackburn,
Yes.
Squire Muller,
No.
Squire Tracy,
No.
Squire Moore,
Yes.
Judge Wells? Yes, so we will not be working with the city. We're out of the tax financing, and so the project, Rick, is the project dead from the county standpoint?
No, I guess that's up to y'all. The issue is not whether it's dead or alive. This was one mechanism to ensure that kind of everybody's interest got looked after, and the city and the county, as they're talking about sharing based on that increment financing proposal, is handled in the proper way. I don't think this is not meant to be a take it or leave it. City or county's not going to participate in redevelopment of parcel B, et cetera. This is just one law firm that was proposed and identified by the city and county officials to provide expertise in guiding them through the TIF project or the financing of parcel B. I don't think this reflects on the project in any form or fashion.
It just gives us more answers.
This was just which law firm you're going to have, and are you going to split the cost of this law firm? The county says they're not going to split the cost of this law firm, so I don't know what the city's going to do. Are they just going to assume 100% of it, or what they'll do? But this was how it was proposed, based on discussions, to have this expert assist the city and the county. So I don't think it does, it's not a rejection of parcel B or the development plan or anything like that. Y'all just don't want to pay for the, expert.
Well, you know, as I heard three of you talk that you didn't know enough, the whole reason to hire this person is so we can know enough. So we voted down something that was going to help us know. So I don't know where we go. I'm sure the city's gonna say, we'll just go without you, whatever. And so it is what it is, okay? That's not gonna work. The next item is the second reading and approval of an amendment to an ordinance number 5, 2019 relating to budget for the fiscal year 2019-2020.
So moved.
That's Sebastian.
You got it? Call the roll.
Squire Sebastian,
Yes.
Squire Blackburn,
Yes.
Squire Muller,
Yes.
Squire Tracy,
Yes.
Squire Moore,
Yes.
Judge Wells.
Yes, next item is authorization to approve of budget transfers for fiscal year 2019-2020.
So moved.
Blackburn. Okay.
Call the roll.
Squire Sebastian,
Yes.
Squire Blackburn,
Yes.
Squire Muller,
Yes.
Squire Tracy,
Yes.
Squire Moore,
Yes.
Judge Wells.
Yes. Next item is authorization to receive the treasurer's report.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll.
Squire Sebastian,
Yes.
Squire Blackburn,
Yes.
Squire Muller,
Yes.
Squire Tracy,
Yes.
Squire Moore,
Yes.
Judge Wells.
Yes, next item is authorization, next item is payment of bills. Is there a motion offered to deny any payment of any of the bills? Hearing none, the bills are to be paid. Authorization to adjourn.
So moved.
Was that Muller?
That was Blackburn.
Oh, it was Blackburn?
I don't know what Rich did.
Okay.
I'll
Okay.
second.
Okay, so we got Blackburn made the motion, Moore
I'll
for second. Okay.
Go ahead.
All right,
Call
Squire
it.
Sebastian,
Yes.
Squire Blackburn,
Yes.
Squire Muller,
Yes.
Squire Tracy,
Yes.
Squire Moore.
I just want to say a couple things. One, the public needs to try to help these businesses around town that are forced to be closed, try to use their drive-throughs and Uber's free right now, not Uber, but Grubhub is free right now. And I also want to say that you take 2 little train rides and airplane rides and nobody wants to be in a meeting with you, but that's okay, guys. Yes.
2 little train rides and 2 airplane rides.
Judge Wells.
And Sherry, I don't understand Squire Sebastian, her husband went everywhere I went, so.
You don't see him on the.
And I can't hear what you're saying, sir.
All right, we're gonna end right there.
Okay, I need your vote, Judge Wells.
Yes. We're adjourned.
We're adjourned.